FamilySearch.org, and here I am signed in because, as I mentioned last week, if you click on the button that says keep me signed in for 2 weeks, then you don't actually have to put your login and your password. So I just opened up FamilySearch.org and I'm into my account. How do I know it's my account? On the top right-hand side, it has my name, and I've added a profile picture so I see myself. So at this point, what I want to share with you are some of the settings and functions that are available in the program itself. So if you go to the top right-hand side and you click on your name, select your name, underneath it has settings. This is what I want to share with you. Within the settings, there are 3 tabs: account, notifications, and permissions. Within the account, it indicates that my full name is private, my username is always private, my contact name, which is what people will see when I've made an entry into the family tree, this will show. This is always public. So I've put my first and last name, and the display name is private. That shows when I log into Family Search. What I wish to share with you is down at the bottom of this screen. If you need to change your password and recovery methods are here, and you can change your password right here. Want to change your password? It's inside this blue rectangular box. And if for any reason, for those of you who have the temple information showing, which is most of us because we are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, if for any reason you do not want that to show, you just unselect it right here where it says show temple information. Now I want to go up to the next tab, which is notifications. There's lots of information that the program Family Search shares, and it comes via email. And I recommend that you have all of these on. On means that on the right-hand side, it's blue, so they're on. If you're not one to come into Family Search that often, and someone may have sent you a message, or there might be a notification from Family Search itself, you have the option of putting in your phone number, cell phone number, and you can receive a text when you get a message. And that is if you turn it on right here, which I don't because I'm into Family Search all the time, so I don't turn that on. And then languages. If your first language is not English and you prefer to use the program in your native language, if it's available here, this is where you would select it. And then, as I showed in last week's demonstration with the Chinese writing, that would be present, or any other language you select. The third tab I wish to go into is permissions. And the one thing I want to show you in permissions is the very top thing, relationship viewing. This allows others to see their relationship to you in Family Tree. Now, I figure it's a family tree and we're all working together, so I have allowed this to happen. If you're very private, you don't have to select that. But what it does is if someone is working on a part of the tree that you're working on and you've communicated with them, then inside that communication, you can actually select to see, hey, how am I related to this person who I'm communicating with? And it will demonstrate that for you. So back up on the right-hand side, next to your name, you see a bell. Mine has a red dot beside it. That means I have a new message. These are messages that come from the program Family Search itself. So there's a few unread messages here. They're all bold, but this is where you receive notifications from the program itself. The next icon is a speech bubble. These are communications from other users. And I find that the first time I click on it, it doesn't seem to want to go. So I show all messages and they open up in another window, but that's okay. So these are on the left-hand side, these are individuals that I've communicated with, and it shows the date and it shows a little subject line about it. So if I go back here, they'll show now. So here they are. And the final thing I want to demonstrate is the question mark. That is a very valuable tool. If you want to know how to use this program, maybe you want to learn how to add a parent. You would just type it in there, or how to add a child. Whatever your question is, it will give you various pre-prepared messages that may help you in your search. Now, if none of that is helping, the question you've typed in, you don't get a pre-prepared answer that comes up, go down to the very bottom left of this little window and select Contact Us. At this point, a window is going to come up, and those that are in your local area who may be able to help you will be listed on the left-hand side of the screen. But as you scroll down this page, I want to highlight to you that the live chat is truly live. There is someone on the other end. But for those of us who are old school and like the telephone, the call us 1-866. When the service is in action, it's not 24/7. So there are some times when it's not open, the call center is not open. But when the call center is open, there's always a friendly voice, a live person at the end of this phone number. So that's really important to know. And they can walk you through any situation you have. They're very, very helpful. So how do I get back to that first screen that I saw when I logged on? I call it the home screen. On the top left side is the Family Search logo. Select that, and it takes you back to the very first screen you saw when you logged on. Now, what I want to do is talk about the Find option. So here in Family Tree, I've selected the name Family Tree, the option Family Tree, and the fourth option below is Find. I'm actually going to right-click that and open in a new tab. And now, if I want to look for an ancestor, and we went through this last week to some degree, names, their sex, birth information. If you have marriage information, you would open that also, or death or residence information. If you have a relationship to the person you're searching for, you would add that here. But the fastest way to find someone in the family tree, if you have their unique ID number, is to search with that. So Find by ID is what I'm going to select. And here, I am going to type in a unique ID for my ancestor, and I'm going to find him. His name is Henry Kennedy. So I'm going to select him, and I'm going to select his person. What I want to talk about now are research helps. These are located on the top right corner of the page in the gray area. Always look to this section of a person page. So as discussed last week, when you're not on your family tree and you're looking at an individual person, it's known as their person page. Always look to the research help section of a person page, because here's where you'll can find valuable information. So what I want to teach today is how to attach a record hint. So this information that's next to a blue icon is known as a record hint. And some may say, what is a record hint? Well, Family Search the Family Search Program is constantly searching indexed records to identify ones that may match records that are in this family tree. And when a possible match is found, Family Search creates what's called a record hint. So these two record hints have the name Henry Kennedy from the 1901 Canadian Census and the 1911 Canadian Census. So what I'm going to do right now is actually look at this document and see if in fact it's the same Henry Kennedy who is my ancestor. And I'll teach you how you then attach it. And then I'm going to give you some more information before I go and look at the second one. So I'll share an example of how to attach it. Then I'm going to give you some more information about record hints, and then we'll come back to the second record hint. So what you do is you select it by hovering over the blue link and clicking your mouse. And what opens is a little window that has a summary of what's included in this record. And then you have an option on the bottom left of that window to review and attach. Don't be scared about going into this, because if for any reason you say, I don't have time for it, I don't want to think about it and deal with it now, you can always back out of it. And right here, return to the family tree on the bottom left-hand side of this new window that's opened. But let me go back up here. I'm going to go back to the tab for the person page of Henry. I want to show you a couple of things about Henry before we look at this record of his, okay? First, I want to show you, if we scroll down and look at family members. Here's Henry and his wife, Louisa. They have one child, Clifford. Henry's parents are to the right, Alex and Elizabeth, and Henry is listed as the only child in this family. So keep that in mind. Also, the other information section, if I open it up, has nothing listed within it. So keep that in mind as I go back to the source link page and I show you how to work this. So on the left-hand side is the census record, or the document that has the name in it that I'm comparing to my ancestor. On the right-hand side is what I have in my portion of the family tree. And if we look at the top entry, we have an Alexander Kennedy on the record. And in my family tree, I have an Alex Kennedy. That's the head of the family, or the father. Then Elizabeth and Elizabeth. Now, on my side of this page, I have her maiden name. On the left side is her name during the census time. So don't let that surname throw you. Then the third entry is Henry himself and Henry Kennedy. I believe this to be the correct family that's listed in this 1901 census, so I am going to attach it. Now, prior to selecting attach, I want to add this residence. This is where the family was living during the time of the census. I'm going to teach you about making sure that your dates and places are entered in such a way that the Family Search Program can recognize them. So I'm going to delete this one and add it back as if I'm typing this for the first time. Then down here, I get an option, which I'm going to choose. Now I know that the date's entered correctly because there's a little map, a little calendar next to the date. I'm going to do the same thing with the date. Put my cursor at the end of the location, delete the A in Canada and type it back as if I'm typing this fresh for the first time. So I have Lambton, Ontario, Canada. It just so happened when they took the census that they subdivided Lambton into east and west, and this portion of the census was taken in the west section. But for the purpose of a location, we're still in Lambton, Ontario. So I'm going to choose that. I know that my location is the way that the program understands it because I have a map pin next to it. Now I scroll down and I attach. Now I go to the top. I'm going to compare for his father. I've got some new information from this census record. It indicates the father's birth year and birth location. And my options for location have Scotland, United Kingdom, Scotland as its own, and Scotland, and it continues with some other locations. I'm going to select either the first or the second. And how I make my selection is by the dates. So I can see that he was born in 1849. And if I come down, Scotland by 1849 is part of the UK or the United Kingdom. So I select the first one. I'm going to add that he immigrated in 1855 and his residence at the time of this census. Same thing I'm doing with him, I did with his sons. I'm going to select the date that's given to me, and I'm going to select a location that's offered. And then I will attach. And I do the same thing for the mother. Where's our Scotland here? Here we go. She immigrated in 1859, and the residence at the time of the census. And then I attach that. Now, there are 4 individuals on this census record who I do not have in my family tree. At this point, I'm going to take a look at the original and see who is this. So here's at the top left of my screen, I'm going to click on image. It opens up another window and it's going to show me the original document. And I can actually use the plus or minus on the left-hand side to zoom in and take a look at the information. Now, at the bottom is transcribed information. And if you look at the scroll bar on the bottom right, you can see that it's almost near the bottom. So that tells me I need to look at the bottom of this page. And here we are. Kennedy, Alexander, Elizabeth. These are children. Son, 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 son. Daniel, John, Henry, Arthur. Now, because this is the bottom of the page, never believe that that could be the end of the family. Go to the top left portion here. I'm on page 855 of 2,500 pages. I'm going to look over to the next page. And I'm going to go to the top. And look at that, Mary Kennedy. She's from the previous household. And she is a daughter. So now I'm going to go back. I'm on the top left. I'm using the Internet Explorer backspace button. And I go back to my record. And I know that all of these other individuals listed on this census are siblings to Henry Kennedy. So I'm going to add them. And a box comes up and it asks me to, what am I doing? I'm creating a new person here, Daniel Kennedy, or I'm selecting one that's already in the family tree. And my window's not going down far enough for me to click add. Let me try someone else here. Let me do that again. My laptop has a small screen and it's not allowing me to see the full information. But at the bottom of this window, if you can see my cursor here, I should have an add individual or add person, and I would select it. Right now, my window doesn't appear to be big enough for me to see it. Oh, I move it up a little bit. Okay, right here, create new person. So Family Search has checked their records and they did not find an individual with that name and that date and that location. So it's asking me if I want to create a new person. And I am saying, yes, I want to create a new person, which I just did. For the sake of time, and because I'm having a little bit of computer challenge here, I'm not going to add the other 3 siblings. I will come back to them, but I want to go now back to Henry R. Kennedy's tab. I'm at the top of the page. I'm going to select him. I'm going to refresh his page. This is the top recycle arrow, top left. And now I want to demonstrate to you that as we go down here, you can see his sibling Mary is now listed as part of the family. And if I had taken the time to add the other 4 siblings, his brothers, they would also be listed here. I also want to show you in other information, it now has a residence showing. And that is because the census was taken at that time in that location, and it is a residence location as per the census record that was attached.
Noreen is asking if there were 4 sons and then the daughter on the other page.
That's correct. That's how it was showing, yes.
Yes. Also, if this is going a little quickly, we are recording this, so you can play back and see what she did again later.
Thank you. Thanks, Shira. Okay. I'm going to open up another program now, my PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to share some information about record hints. So I would suggest that you add all sources you can find. This gives credibility to your work. It proves that the information you have entered into the family tree is correct. It also helps you find other family members, as was just demonstrated from Henry. We found 4 more siblings. Record hints that match your family can provide new important information about your ancestors, including the following: additional relationships. And what you do is you attach the source to all those who are listed in the document. A record hint can give you additional events and facts. It can also give you more correct dates. A record hint can show name variations, because you may find that your ancestor has changed his or her name, or moved to using their middle name, or shortened their first name. You'll find it various ways. You also get more complete name places when you look at the record hints that are provided to you. Don't assume that a record hint is a match. Review the details and compare them to what you already know about your ancestor. So you might ask a question like this: is the person the same as your ancestor? Are the ages or dates correct or really close, mostly correct? Does the record show the right family relationships? Are place names what you would expect? But also don't assume that a record hint is not a match. So here's an example. marriage record. Parents of the bride and parents of the groom are listed on a marriage record. So you may be working on a male ancestor and open up a record hint that shows a female name. Be sure to read it because you may be looking at a name of the mother of the bride or the mother of the groom. So always read the source and see if it matches, and then take the time to attach it. Though record hints can jumpstart your research, they aren't the only resource for everything you need to know about everyone in your family tree. There are multiple other ways to find information or records. So stay tuned for next week. I'm going to show you how to source records through Family Search and within another family history website. And like I said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. But I'll show you the computer aspect of family history and attaching documents. Don't forget, look at the original document. So I opened up and we saw the script. And not all useful information has been indexed. And I will share an example of that going forward. And we want to tag our sources, which I did, and I'll show you that in the next illustration. So the source document, this is what a tag means. The source or the document will now remain with the information you have entered. So if your document shows a birth date, then the tag links the document to the vital statistic of a birth date. Let me go back and show you in greater detail what I mean by that. Okay, so we are back to Henry Kennedy, and he has one more record hint. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to review and attach it. 10 years has passed. In the first record hint, Henry is a child. In the second record hint, Henry is the head of the household. He's now married and he has children. I'm not going to take the time to attach everything here, but like in the first example, you add the residence, correct the date or the location if need be, and select what the program offers you, and then attach it. We see his wife here. And as in the other example, he only has one child, but there are actually 2 additional children in the record. If I open up the original, you'll be able to see that they are listed. In terms of what a tag means, I will show you here in the gray area, a little to the left. It automatically, once you do it the first time, it automatically does it for every source you need to attach. So you don't have to think about it later on. But this particular census record has his name, has his birth year at least, if not the date and the month, and it indicates that he's male. So now when I go back to his, I'm going to leave this page and go to his person page. When I come back and I look at his vital statistics, I can see that his name has 4 sources next to it. And if I select edit, I can see on the right-hand side here that these sources that were attached have his name in it. Well, that should be the case. Every source you attach to someone should show their name, or how would you know it's their source? But let's use birth, for example. I indicated here, or it is indicated here, that there are 3 sources next to his birth. If I select edit, I can see that in the 1901 census, his marriage record, and a 1921 census, they all list at least his birth year, if not his full birth date. So this is what a tag does. It attaches the source to a piece of vital information on your ancestors person page. I'm now going to move on and show you something else that may be identified in a research help area. I'm going to close a couple tabs here. We're going to move away from Henry. I'm going to go up to my first toolbar, select Family Tree, and then select Find. And I'm going to look at a different ancestor of mine. I'm going to put in her unique identifier code. And her name is Mary Sophia Zaff. I'm going to select her person page. And if you look on the right-hand side, it says that there's a possible duplicate. So what happens with Family Tree, Family Search's Family Tree, is that because there are so many users, I may have entered Mary Zaff, and someone else may have entered a Mary Zaff not knowing that I already did so, or vice versa. I may have entered it second. And the system is constantly searching for duplicates. And now here's an opportunity for me to see if in fact they are the same person. So what I do is I select possible duplicates. Now, before I do all that, I am going to, and this is just a little sneaky on my part, I'm going to go down, and her husband is Cyrus Green. I'm going to right click and I'm going to open him in a new tab because I need him later. I'm not going to focus on him right now. I'm going to go back up to Mary's Research Helps, and I'm going to select Possible Duplicate, and I'm going to Review and Merge. What opens up now is a three-part process. On the right-hand side is my entry. On the left-hand side is the possible duplicate. I now have an opportunity to look at them and see if the information is the same or mostly the same, if I feel that they are in fact the same person. Well, I can tell you right now, the surname is spelled differently, but that doesn't surprise me. This is a German name, and the person or the family immigrated to Canada, and many times it was misheard or misspelled. So I find that name written many ways. So that doesn't surprise me. And as I scroll down, I can see that the spouse is Cyrus Green, and spelled differently, but the same spouse, Cyrus Green. And on the left side, they have a child, Luella, and I have a Luella on the right side in my children. Looking at the spouse and the child similarities, I say yes, it's the same individual. Scrolling down, you can see the sources for both entry. I'm going to say yes, continue. The question at the bottom, step 1 of 3, are these people a possible match? Yes, continue. I come to step 2 now. Step 2 is where I get to replace information or keep what I have. I'm not going to replace the name because my name is Fuller, and I also believe that it's spelled correctly. I don't need to replace the sex, that's both female. I already have the birth and the death information. As I scroll down further, I have far more information from census records that indicate her residence over the years. I also have an alternate name that I found on a record. And the family information is listed here now. And just so you know, any sources that were on the possible duplicate have now been moved automatically to the entry that will endure to the right side of the page. And if there were any memories, such as photographs or stories, those will also automatically stay with the entry that will endure. So I go down to the bottom and I continue. Now it's going to ask me why I feel that I should merge these two entries. I can write my own message in this top box, or I can select a message from below that is what I would have said anyway. So the top left one here, all vital information and relationships match, and then it identifies the two IDs. I'm going to add that to my reason right here, and I finish my merge. So now if I look at Mary's person page, on the top right-hand side under research help, there is no more possible duplicate. Sorry about that, didn't mean to go to that page. Now, here's our challenge. If I look at family members on the bottom left, she's married to a Cyrus Green. And if I scroll down, she's married to another Cyrus Green. What that tells me is that I need to merge those Cyrus Greens and make them one Cyrus Green and figure out which spelling is most correct. So I would do the same thing, and I'm going to identify how I will do that. So I opened up, if you look at my tabs at the top, I opened up Cyrus, spelled with a C. Go back to Mary's tab and scroll down. There's Cyrus, spelled with an S. If I hover over his link and select it, I can hover over his personal ID number, and it says copy ID. I select that. I go back to my tab at the top and select Cyrus with a C. If this wasn't here on the right-hand side under research help, that wouldn't bother me in the least. I would scroll down a little bit to the tools section, and I would say that I would like to merge by ID. I would choose that. I would paste in the ID I copied, and I would continue. Then it's going to bring up the Cyrus Green with the S on the left, the Cyrus Green with the C on the right. Now, due to time, I'm not going to merge these. I want to move on and show you something else, but it would be the exact same as with Mary before. It's a three-part process where you take the time to compare. Then the second part, you take the time to replace information. If there's something on the left that you wish to move to the right, because the right will be the surviving person, you do so. And the third screen is where you put why you feel they're the same people, and then you merge them. Okay, moving on to a different topic. I want to share on a person page. I'm going to go to a different person page in my family tree. So I go up to the top toolbar, family tree, and find. I am going to find a different person to talk about. No, that's not how I'm going to find them. I'm actually going to go to my family tree. So family tree. Come on, toolbar, go for me. Family tree. My computer's giving me a little jostle here. Well, we'll just close that tab and start over here. Family tree, tree. This is myself, Christine. I'm going to show you a life sketch from my husband's side of the family. This is his father. I choose his name, and then under person, I'm going to right click and open in a new tab. Then I go up to the new tab and I look at him. Life sketch. This was something I told you I would show you. So the individual who wrote this life sketch wrote quite a bit. Won't take time to read it now, but I just wanted to show you that it's a summary of the individual's life. Now I'm going to show you someone else who has a much less detailed life sketch. This is my grandfather right here, Elmer. And if I go to his parents and drop down in the children, I can see him listed here, Elmer. I'm going to select one of his older sisters, Della May, open her in a new tab, go up to the top and look at her person page. Her life sketch, she died as an infant or a toddler. My sister doing this individual person page has determined that she died before the age of 4. She's not showing on the census where she would have been a 4-year-old child. So she died sometime between when she was born and before that census was taken. And so we've just indicated that she dies as an infant or a toddler. So your life sketch can be as simple as that type of information. Now, I showed you some other, I told you I was going to touch on some other buttons that sometimes you're not wondering what they do, but you want to see what they do. So on the right-hand side, view my relationship. This is my relationship to my grandfather's older sister who died as an infant. So myself, my father, my grandfather, and his parents. And then it shows his sister next to him. Also, next to view my relationship is the word follow. Right now, I am not following Della May. If I hover over the word follow, it tells me to be notified of any changes to this person, click follow. So I'm going to select that. Now I am following Della May. On the bottom left-hand side of your screen, it says, oh, it just disappeared. Let me do that again. I'm following. Just a minute. Let me wait till this turns off. I'm now following. The not following is up there. But at any rate, if you go into the learn more, you'll see a list of people you're following. What that means is that if anybody makes a change on this person page, I receive an email. I receive a notification that something has been changed. This may be very important to someone you're working on who you've spent a lot of time researching the data, and you're worried that someone else may come and change something. Make sure that the person page says following. Then you'll receive an email if any changes are made. Okay. I want to talk about a research help known as a data error. So I'm going to go up to family tree, find, and I'm going to find by ID number. Type that in here. This is a demonstration for Richard Pocock. Going to select his person page. On the top right, under research help, there's an exclamation mark in a red box. That indicates a data error. A data error is when the Family Search program does not understand or recognize what you have typed. So in this instance, it says it's missing a standardized death place. So I'm going to scroll down and see the same red exclamation mark in his vital section next to death. What I want to do is edit it. And as I demonstrated before, I'm behind the word Canada in the place location. I delete the A and retype it as if I'm typing, the location for the first time. And then it gives me an option to choose from. His death date is 1905. And so from 1874 to 2001 is correct. I'm going to select it. I know that it's something that the system recognizes because there is a map pin next to the location. I'm also going to fix the date while I'm here because up here it doesn't show a little calendar next to the date. I also know that Family Search likes the month spelled out in full, and it's not. So backspace, add the 5 again, and select what the program gives me. Now I save it. And if you notice, under the research help, that data error has disappeared. This is going to be very helpful, and I'll show you in a few minutes why it's helpful. That you have... Yes?
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to be mindful that it is 8 o'clock. I know some people might need to go. If it's okay, since we started late, it looks like we might be going just a few more minutes, but I just want to be mindful that it's 8.
Thank you, Yura. Okay, I want to share with you, let me move on to, I think you understand about fixing record data errors, but I want to show you a data error in an unusual place. So I'm going to go to another ancestor. And I'll demonstrate what the data error is on this ancestor. His name's Thomas Edward. And as I select his person, on the top right under research help, missing standardized marriage place. I wanted to demonstrate where marriage information is recorded. It's down in the family members section. You have the husband, you have the wife, and sandwiched right between them is the marriage information. This little pencil on to the right of that is where you edit. So as I move in here, the top entry is the husband, then the wife is listed next, and then their relationship events. Now, it just so happens that they have a marriage entry entered twice. So we're going to fix that. I've done my background research on this, and I happen to know that the town that's listed is actually in Saskatchewan, not in the Northwest Territories. So I'm going to go into the second marriage entry and edit it so that it comes up proper, selecting the date that's provided for me and selecting the town in Saskatchewan, saving it. And now I'm actually going to delete this duplicate entry. On the right-hand side of this window, it says delete. It's going to ask me, I'm going to say duplicate information. And delete. So we still have the marriage information, but not twice, just once. And the data error is missing from the top right research help. I wanted to show you the individual toolbar, the person page toolbar. And I want to share a timeline for someone. I have to open this page here. So let me go to my find again. John Pocock, his person page. So, timeline for John Pocock. When this page opens, you'll see on the left-hand side, timeline, and on the right-hand side, a map. Number of ways to look at this page. If you don't wish to see the map, under the word timeline, turn it off. All you see now is his information, that anything you have about him that has a date and a location. So his birth, his christening, his marriage, birth of a child, birth of a child, birth of a child, and so on, all the way until his death. Under show, these are all of the events that will be seen. Historical information is quite interesting. I've just turned it on. So here, for example, is a historical event. Old London Bridge opens in 1831. And if you scroll down, another historical event in 1843, Dickens' A Christmas Carol is first published. This all happened during my ancestor's lifetime. I don't normally have historical events on though, because they take up a lot of space. So I unselect it again. If you don't wish to see information about his spouse or his children or his parents, you can unselect those also and only see information specific to your ancestor. Now I'm going to turn the map back on. It's zoomed out. I need to zoom back in. We are in England. This ancestor is from the United Kingdom, specifically England. On the left side, again, in the white area, I'm going to toggle, which opens it up to a larger view. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because I want to show you. The number 2 up by Coventry indicates that 2 events took place in Coventry or near Coventry. But because most of the events took place south of London, I'm zooming in specific to that area. I want you to look at the map. On the bottom left-hand corner, it says show route. When I click on show route, look at the map. Those are all the events of my ancestor's life, drawn out, indicating where he moved to and where he moved to next. So I turned show route off, turn it on again. So you can see his life in terms of travel. This is a little baby. So if I select it, that's the birth of a child. And on the left-hand side in the timeline, it's highlighted in green. If I select the 5, there are 5 things that happened. These drooping flowers indicate death. So that was his death in 1874 at age 69. I'm going to select the toggle off, which puts me back to him. And I want to indicate that next week, we're going to go into greater detail about sources. And the 4th one over is memories. We're going to go into great detail about those in our 4th week. Collaborate is where you can add notes or start a discussion with another user about your ancestor. And ordinances, we will go into greater detail about ordinances in week 5. And I think that's all for today. Thank you for your patience and for sticking around till the end.